And it was odd. It was like in a church basement. And even if you were like a female pop singer, I would probably go with this one. It would be less work in the mix. I don't know why we did that. The checkerboard design.
Hey guys, welcome back with another episode at Liness Studio. I'm Kevin. I'm with my good friend Charles Dickinson with Cathedral Pipes. Welcome.
Thanks.
To the channel. Thanks for letting us come to your studio.
No problem. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here. So tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background.
Well, I am an electrical engineer by trade. So that's kind of what I do in my daytime hours. I design computer chips for AMD, which is a big processing company. But I was also a musician in university, and as I got out of school, I was recording more and more, and I kind of got into the gear side of things. And that's kind of what started the whole ball rolling on music gear that led into microphones. But it really started with just outboard gear. And back in the early 2000s. And there were a group of us online, and we would trade ideas and talk about modifying things or just recreating things that you couldn't find anymore. A lot of the stuff that you see here, almost all of it actually, I made myself.
Just by looking up schematics or reverse engineering things?
A little of both. Back at that time, there weren't a lot of schematics. So we were, like I said, bouncing ideas off each other, reverse engineering things. And then during the process, trying to make improvements and just kind of experimenting. Really.
Would you do more like A/B comparisons? Would you have a test, a real version that you would A/B compare them with?
If we could find something, yeah.
But if something was just unattainable, you're just doing your best guess of how close it is to the original.
Yeah, there was a lot of that going on, and then, as the years went on, with certain units like the LA2A, we could find an original with a Uri transformer on the output and test it.
Because they had enough of them out there.
They're out there, especially down here in LA. But other things like this very Mew behind you, no, that's not attainable. The Fairchild at the time, it took me 2 years to complete this Fairchild over here, and
that was just talking on message boards, trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it was like a back and forth on the forums and trying to figure things out. And but then when I was done and I was in LA, I found some old engineers that actually used them all the time, and I would loan it out to them and say, "What do you think of this?"
They used original Fairchilds all the time?
Yeah, so there was a few people in LA that I would loan the stuff out to and go,
Tell me what you think.
Am I hitting it, or is it totally not there, kind of thing? And
they came back with pretty good things to say?
Well, not always.
But sometimes you want to hear the bad things so you can make
absolutely.
your tweaks.
Yeah, you want honest feedback. You don't want lip
People
service.
going, yo, it's great.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Best I ever heard.
Everything is great. No, you really want people to tell you the truth. But you're going to get that from older engineers, like the really old, crotchety guys that have been working in studios.
It sucks. Yeah, this ain't right.
Yeah, you're going to get the hard truth. And the same thing for the microphones, because I started building the gear and that to just record my own music, and then and I was interested in it because of my engineering background. But then the microphone thing kind of came about when we were in a studio in LA recording my third album for a band I was in at the time, and I didn't like any of the microphones at that studio. And
they probably had even a full mic locker.
They had a bunch of old 87s, and they had a Sony, the Sony mic, the C.
Yeah.
But that sounded terrible on me. I don't know that it sounds good on anybody except
Isn't that Mariah Carey that
rappers.
used that?
Maybe. I don't know. I know that
But just certain
a lot
voices.
of rappers used it because it just makes you sound angry all the time.
Mm.
It gives you this harshness, and it's great for hip hop.
For the gangster rap.
Yeah,
and all
well,
that.
just any kind of hip hop where you want it to punch through.
Mm.
You want it to really punch through that mix, and you've got a lot of stems in the background and loops and stuff and beats going on.
Just cuts.
Yeah, and you got heavy beats going on. You want your voice to have that kind of crispness and anger to it. For me, it didn't work. So anyway, I started making microphones because I had made all this stuff when we were recording. I took all of this stuff into the studio in LA, and we were recording over a course of like 6 months after hours. And I just started making microphones until I found one that sounded good.
Which studio was that?
It was a studio called Nightbird Studios. It's in a hotel called Sunset Marquis. It's on the
Is it still there?
Sunset Strip. Yeah, it's still there. Yeah. They have 4 of my microphones and some other stuff that I've built and left there.
Cool.
Yeah. So we just kept retweaking the microphone until we found something that sounds good on me.
So what was the initial design that on that very first one that you were doing?
It's the model that we sell called the Regensburg.
Okay.
And
that became the Notre Dame after with the change?
Well, yeah, the Notre Dame was kind of an evolution on the Regensburg. It was like taking that a step further, using a different head grill, output cap on it, making it more wide open, more of a big feature vocal microphone that you could use. The Regensburg is more like a U67 by Neumann, whereas the Notre Dame is kind of more towards a 47. So
which one do you get more orders from?
The Notre Dame.
By far, or?
Yeah. And I don't know why that is. Because it's more open, it's more natural sounding.
You could do maybe more with processing wise on it after the fact.
Yeah, you can cut a Notre Dame track down to a Regensburg. But you
Hard
can't
to go the other way.
But you can't go the other way, right? So you can take things away, but you can't add to them. So that's the difference. But I do try to get a feel when somebody's not sure about what they want. I try to get a feel for what they want to use it for. Style
of music wise, maybe hear their voice if they're a singer.
Not everybody needs a Notre Dame. I certainly didn't need a Notre Dame. I was doing industrial metal. And
you're yelling and
I'm yelling and singing poorly and I want to have kind of more of a pop rock mid sound to it. And the Regensburg was way better for that. The Notre Dame is going to be too much. I'm going to end up EQing it all the way.
And just squishing it.
Yeah.
Now, what about your preamp in developing that?
The preamp, which is hidden behind me here, it's the shiny thing. We were trying to model the EMI red famous Abbey Road tube preamp.
Were those the preamps that were in their console?
Yeah. And so we were originally going to just call it the Abbey. And then Universal Music wrote me a nasty letter.
And they're saying, hey, you better think twice about that.
Said we're going to sue you because apparently that's too close to their intellectual property of Abbey Road.
You better tell everybody that names their daughter Abby that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Or does the royal family know this? So we called it the Westminster Abbey, and they stopped bothering me.
Interesting.
But all of the products follow the theme because it was Cathedral Pipes. They're all named after a cathedral or something like that, something in that vein.
So what do you think has been the biggest challenge of developing the products and building your business? Is it dealing with clients or?
Yeah, knowing what kind of products to develop for what kind of clients, and the involving market and economy.
sourcing stuff, building it, making sure orders can be filled.
Yeah, and we are still all made in America, which is kind of a thing we've always tried to do. You know, everything made here in the U.S. And so
it's kind of more of a rarity nowadays.
Yeah, well, pretty much, yeah. It not a lot of people do it. It's a lot of trouble. I know firsthand. You know, if you were going to make it overseas, you would just kind of order it from one factory.
And they're just putting it all together, and it just shows up in a box, and then you just sell it.
Yeah.
Doesn't really feel like you're making it.
That's what most people do. But whereas I have different machine shops all around Orange County here that do different parts of the microphones or the preamplifier. So I have a sheet metal shop, and then I have another machine shop that does the tubes and the head baskets, and then I have another machine shop that does the capsules. We even do our own capsules, which not a lot of people do that. We've always done our own M7 version of our own capsule. What's
the trickiest part of it? Is it the capsule of
gluing the
diaphragm
and tensioning it? So there's a 2-micron piece of Mylar skin, I guess, diaphragm, like a drum head. And you only have one get it on top of the well, with the M7 you only have one chance to do it because it's glued. Some of the other capsules are screwed, so you could probably reposition and retry it, but once you screw that up, you're done.
And it's like, okay, back to the next one.
Yeah, throw it in the garbage, try again. So you get the diaphragm on there, you tension it with like some weighted rings, and then you inject glue through it, and it will fill the glue ring up and stick it.
And just has to be totally uniform and no creases or anything. It has to be the right tension. Weirdness.
And then we test it for capacitance and a couple other things, and then you start listening to it. You know, stick it in the head, put it on a test.
So do you have your main, like, would you compare any new ones to the one you have here? So
I still have my original that I built way back in 2010.
And everything's been tested against that?
I still have the original Regensburg, and I test often. But, you know, I've captured its pattern. And so when I do captures on the new mics, I'll look at that one as a reference.
Just run a test tone through it, basically?
Yeah, or multiple test tones. So we'll see how well it matches. See where the dips are, see where the peaks are.
So if you see any variance, what do you do to go about? Can you adjust it after the fact?
No,
you just kind of know it's
that capsule's no good.
Okay, you just ditch it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we can try and refurbish it. Like, you cut the diaphragms off it, throw it in an ultrasonic cleaner, and get the glue out of it. Then put it in a dehydrator.
It's kind of probably more trouble than just making a new one.
Yeah, if you're going to do that, and I've done it in the past, you would do them a bunch at a time. Because people back, not so much anymore, because I won't do it for anybody, but back in the day, I would have reskinned people's old M7 capsules. People would send them to me, like from a real 47.
Just give them new life.
Well, because theirs were damaged or something like that. Not typically to give it new life. If somebody has a working capsule, they stick with it.
Oh yeah,
a vintage working capsule.
Yeah, because if it's got that sound.
But I would get damaged ones where they were torn or some kind of other damage to it, and reskin it for them. But so it can be done. It's just, yeah, the capsule is really important. It has to meet a really strict spec.
So where do you see the company in the next, 5-10 years? We talked earlier about if you're thinking of new products. Is that something even in the future you might consider?
The thing that we've been working on the past year has been the swappable capsules. So I like the M7, but recently we've tried some K47 capsules and some other capsules, and they sound great. They're different. They sound great and they sound different. So we wanted to offer that first with the Notre Dame, where you can just buy the head grill.
So you don't have to re-screw any. You don't have to
No,
resolder
we have thumb
anything.
screws on it now, and you just unscrew the thumb screws, pull it off, and stick another head grill on there with a different capsule.
So if you if you have 3 or so different capsules, you basically have 3 different mics.
Yeah, and other companies have done that, like the Blue Bottle did that. And, there was a couple companies in Nashville, I'm not sure if they're still around or not, that used to do it. So it's not a new idea, but it's just something that we were trying to integrate.
For all the mics, or mostly just the Notre Dame?
Right now, we can do the Notre Dame and the Saint Jean Baptiste, which is our FET microphone. So we have 3.
It's a FET 47, like a
FET 47. It's not quite the same as a FET 47 because it uses our M7 capsule. They use a K47 capsule. But like I said, we're going to be able to swap the grill, and you can put a K47 on it. So right now we can do those 2. Working on the Regensburg, hoping to get that system together.
Now ribbons, that's a whole different thing, right?
So I used to do a ribbon. It's probably still on the website. And it sounded really good. It sounded like an old RCA vintage ribbon. And that was the sound I was going for. But it didn't really sell very well. Like I made a whole bunch of them, and I had inventory, and it took years to sell them. So, and the people that have them love them. So it's just, I don't know if I want to continue doing it or not. If the demand is there, I'll make more.
It seems like ribbons in general, people might have 1 or 2 just to have a little bit of that sound, but they'll have 10 condenser mics, or bigger studios. They'll have a lot more options.
Ribbons are more of a fashionable thing almost. Like they come in and out of style. That vintage indie rock sound comes in and out.
Every like 20 years.
Yeah, maybe. And it's regional too. I've sold a lot of ribbons to the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, where indie rock was bigger than say down here in the Southern California area. But I do have a legit ribbon folder that I bought from some machinist up in the Bay Area. He made one for me. I think he made the ones that Royer has as well. So he was an odd man. It was very interesting. I met him at a vintage telephone convention.
That's not a place you go to all the time.
But he was retired, and I can't even remember how I got in touch with him, but I got him on the phone because there's no way he would answer email. He was much older, and
using the dial-up.
I got him on the telephone.
Those phones.
He was probably using one, and I asked him if he was able to make them, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't do that anymore." And I said, "Would you be willing to consider making me one?" And he said, "Send me $600 and I'll make you one." And so I just sent him $600 in the mail. And a few months later, he calls me up and says, "I'm going to be in your area at a telephone convention, and I've got your ribbon folder."
That's funny.
Yeah, it was.
That's a great place to meet someone to get a microphone.
And it was odd. It was like in a church basement. And it was...
Well, I can't imagine those are giant conventions.
It was like going to a music convention where people had booths. But kind of like a cross between that kind of format and a swap meet. And everybody had their booths, and they were all showing off these old vintage telephones.
They're just showing them off, or they're actually trying to sell them?
I don't know. I didn't stick around long enough to find out.
Interesting place to be, for sure.
Yeah. So that's how I got that ability to make ribbons, and then But
so you probably won't resume the ribbon stuff unless you see a huge demand for it.
Probably not. No. I would make one-offs if people asked me for them, but I don't see it as a viable product. Not like the tube condenser microphones. They're more versatile.
All right, Charles. So let's check out some of your products.
Sure. So behind me, this is the Notre Dame. So that's our highest end microphone. Sells for $2,400, and it's the big feature vocalist microphone, kind of
the
like
big open sound.
Big open sound to it, yeah.
And generally, you would use that on something like even piano or acoustic guitar. Is it pretty multi-purpose?
I would use it on just about anything.
Not a kick drum, though, maybe.
Or if it was far enough away.
Or just a room mic, like you would use it as a room mic.
Yeah, it's great room mic. Yeah.
Okay.
If you have enough of them.
So what next? So we got some behind us.
So this one is the Regensburg. This is the one, like I said, I started with.
So that's more the U67?
Yeah, this is more like a 67, and this one is more like a 47.
So this is the one you were yelling more into, and you liked the tone.
Yeah, and even if you were like a female pop singer, I would probably go with this one. It would be less work in the mix. It's just going to punch
smooth
through.
It out.
It's going to punch through better.
Oh, punch through more better.
Yeah, it will. It really will. And the other microphone I have is the FET, which is this guy here, the St. John Baptiste. So with a FET, because it doesn't have a vacuum tube in it, you don't need a power supply, and it just runs on phantom power from a preamp.
Just your preamp.
And so I have it plugged into my preamp right here, the Westminster Abbey, and it's powering this guy.
Now, which combination have you liked the most going into your Westminster Abbey?
So that's a good question. I think it depends on what I'm recording. But the idea, because these two came last, the Regensburg came first, and then Notre Dame, then the FET and the preamp. And the idea behind the FET and the preamp was, I'm going to use the same tube in my preamp as in my Regensburg and Notre Dame. And I'm going to take the tube out of the microphone, put it in the preamp, and just make it more portable.
So, okay. So, in terms of vocals, when's the last time you recorded vocals with your preamp and your mic?
So, we record all the time.
That was just probably last week, right?
Yeah. And we'll try different mics out, and then I'll pick and choose in them when I have them in the mix, which one I like better.
Just compare them all. Now, what about the coloring? So I see you have. Do you do those custom made?
This one.
Because this is another FET, right? That's the same one.
This is the exact same mic. It comes in two different colors, white or red. I don't know why we did that. The checkerboard design was my wife's idea, and my friend that does all the laser, the CO2 laser stuff. That's how we do the engraving on the power supplies and stuff like, and it's how we did this. We spent many hours in his garage figuring out how to do this. So what it is we plate the microphone first, and then we powder coat it.
So it's full white or full red.
Full white or full red, and then we stick it in the CO2 laser. And it's on a rotating machine, and it burns away the squares. And then it burns away the logo too, or the inverse of the logo. But I can't tell you how many times it took to get it to line up at the end when it comes back to where it started.
Square.
So that it has a full square. Oh my goodness. The fellow's name is Sargon, and he's a good friend. Oh man, he talks about it like it was just like an epic journey trying to get these things to do this.
Little things like that, people don't really realize sometimes there's a lot that goes into
Yeah, and
something.
it's like what I said. The whole thing about being made in America is like you have to. I'm literally running around town, you know,
Picking up the things from
picking up
other.
things, getting things painted. These are painted by a friend of mine named Edgar. I found him when another painter didn't work out, and I was looking around for a painter. And one thing that's really popular here in SoCal is the lowrider cars. It's like a Chicana, a Chicana
Saw one the other day.
Culture thing, and they're really cool and they're really elaborate. And this fella, that's what he does. He's an auto painter by trade, but his specialty is
The laser.
these low riders.
Oh, the low rider.
No, like the low riders and getting the fades and the pinstripes and all that stuff, and the metallic and the flake colors and all that stuff. And so I called him one day and I said, I need some bodies of microphones painted. I'm wondering, can you do a fade from because they're going to be chrome and I want a white that fades on them. And he's like, I can do fades, no problem.
That's cool. Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. And so that's who did that. And then the Regensburg, the thing that I started with, these are foils that. Do you remember in cereal boxes you used to get the prizes, and you would have these foils and you'd rub them on?
I don't remember the foils.
You'd have like little decals or something, and you'd rub them on with a pencil onto something else, a transfer.
Well, I remember like the peel stickers that you would put on your skin.
Oh, you had to rub them with a pencil to get it to transfer onto something.
I semi remember that. Maybe when I was really young.
Maybe I'm dating myself, but anyway, that's what these are. So these are foil transfers, and they're on a backing piece of like vellum, and you have to rub them with.
And this one's supposed to be upside down, right? Because you have the logo.
That's right. I mean, there's no real rule about that. There's a lot of urban legends about why.
If the sound changes at all, or is it the connection that they?
No, it's not the connection. The real urban legend behind hanging a U-47 upside down or U-67 upside down was because of the heat. Would the heat
mess up the capsule?
Mess up the diaphragm on the capsule coming up through here. But if you really look at a U-47, it's pretty enclosed. There's no real gaps in the grill. It's like two enclosed plates when it goes on. So I don't know how much heat is getting up there.
Unless you had it on like non-stop for days on end, maybe it would be a thing, but
hard to say.
And
who's to say it doesn't make it sound better?
It might actually make it sound better. Right. And then you do make a booster too.
We do.
For your dynamics and
I don't have it here.
Active ribbon.
Yeah. So
you those sell a lot?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. But that's maybe because I'm lower in price than everybody else. And
those, everybody can use one of those.
And it's really was because my ribbon that I had mentioned was an active ribbon. It had an active circuit in it to boost the signal because ribbons are really low level signals. It was really just taking the circuit out of that ribbon and putting it in a box.
Just have its own standalone,
And then you could plug it into a dynamic mic, like an SM7B or...
Yeah, I always use it with the 7B.
A 58 or even a 57. It makes those mics more usable.
And especially if, some people that have preamps that don't have a lot of clean gain.
Yeah.
Not everybody that's got a especially cheaper end preamp can go up to that level that a 7B needs.
I've used it live even, like thrown it in front of or behind a 58, and then the signal was just hotter going to the board and cleaner than using.
You don't have to pump up the
board. Yeah. So the sound man didn't have to really jack it up with his
just keep it at 0 dB
crappy
or
board
whatever
and
digital dB.
noisy amplifiers in his board. So
I'll have to try them live. I haven't tried them live yet.
Yeah, no, we did it just at the last concert. my daughter had it behind her Telefunken M80.
Okay.
So between the M80 and the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about the lights in the mic? How did you get that started?
So the lights in the mic, and I've told the story a few times now, were actually a joke.
Just put in there for fun in the beginning?
It was actually a joke from between me and my producer. Because like I said, I was making the microphone for myself, right? And we went through a bunch of iterations, like 5 or 6 or 7 iterations. And my producer, who was producing my record at the time, we were recording some tracks, and he was like, that's kind of the one right there. I think that's the winner. I just wish it was a little brighter. And so like the next week I came in and I was like, I've improved it. I think you're going to like it. I brightened it up. And he plugs it in and it lights up. And I had this really obnoxious green light in it. And he goes, oh, screw you. Anyway, but it was brighter in sound as well. And so that's the one we used. And we left it there at the studio because, like I said, we were recording this record for like 6 months after hours. And unknown to us, acts were coming into the studio, and the engineers were just letting them use the gear and the microphones. And that's kind of how the whole thing started. It was
just people testing it out.
I didn't want to sell gear, right? I was making it for myself. And somebody came through the studio one day, and he had been using this Regensburg on his vocals, and he really liked it. And he's like, get this guy on the phone right now. Tell him to make me one. And my producer was in the studio at the time, and he was like, no, he's not going to make you one. And he was like, oh, if he doesn't make me one, I'm taking this one. And
threatening fact.
Right. And so he calls me on the phone, and he's like, I can hear this guy in the background. And he's like, just tell him to make me one. And finally I was like, okay, fine. I'll make him one. And then I hear the studio owner, who happened to be there at the time, he's like, well, if you're making him one, you're making me two. Because you're not taking this away as soon as you're done your record. You're taking this home with you, and I won't have anything. And then they start, both of them, you could hear them in the background. The fellow was like, well, tell him to make mine blue. And I hadn't the foggiest idea what he was talking about at first. I was like, oh my goodness, he means he wants his to light up blue. Because they were using that obnoxious green one. So
do you do all of them white now, or do you sometimes change it?
At first, we would do it any color you wanted. You could tell me the color you wanted it to glow, and I would put the light in. But then as the company grew, and we kind of had to build it in stages and have inventory, you couldn't wait to the end and then put the lights in, right? So
it would have had to already be pre-built for those.
Yeah, so I started making them all white, and so we stopped making custom colors. So if you see one out there that's blue or red or green even,
those are early generation.
Those are old.
And it's been about, what, 10, 15 years since you started?
We probably started around 2010, yeah. So 15 years.
It's a lot of microphones, I'm sure, in that time.
Yeah, we've made a lot of microphones, and there's a lot of them out there. But we've, really tried to grow organically. Just keep it low key, keep it word of mouth.
No big advertising.
No, never.
But you usually are at NAMM with the booth.
Yeah, but that's because it's in our backyard.
Yeah, I mean, that's so close.
Silly not to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
people fly all over the world to come.
It's literally
here.
20 minutes away. So to not do it seems silly.
Yeah.
And NAMM is always kind of an adventure. You meet some
Always
crazy
fun.
people at NAMM, and you hear interesting stories, and interesting things happen. So it's kind
See
of
some cool stuff.
a fun place to hang out and see some cool things.
Looking forward to next year. I didn't make this year's, but looking forward to next year's.
Yeah. It's rebuilding. It's a slow rebuild, I think, from the kind of
Those
COVID
years.
just killed it. COVID just killed it. And I think it's slowly coming back to its former glory. We'll see.
Yeah. And then soon enough, we're going to be like, oh, it's too crowded again.
Yeah, it's too crowded, too noisy. Yeah,
Cool.
that kind of thing.
All right, Charles. Well, thanks for having us here. Everybody, please go to cathedralpipes.com if you're interested in learning more. And we're looking forward to next time hanging out. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.